Well, good evening. Rather belatedly, we had more than a few technical issues there. Did we not have Colin?
Yeah.
My guest tonight is Colin Barros, and he has a wonderful, wonderful story. We all know about Olympians, as it were, but we also now beginning to understand the Paralympics. And it's wonderful that, Colin, you are able to give us your time. So to give us even more insight, with the Paralympic athletics community. Welcome to the show, Colin.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right. First of all, who is Colin Barros, and how did you find yourself, working with the Paralympic athletes?
Oh my goodness me, Stan. Okay. I'm 57. I'm married, 33 years, 4 children, all grown up, and I was a tool maker in aerospace engineering, and I retired 3 months ago.
Okay.
So I started to coach for Team Devises the Moonrakers when my eldest daughter was 10. And I went along and I sat and watched the coaches work with her, and they were all female coaches, and they said, well, would you help us coach? Because I've been coaching probably then for another 20, I've been probably coaching for about 19 years previously. I've coached swimming, water polo, rugby, football, all of those things. And so then I helped out, and I started to help coach at the local athletics club. So that's kind of progressed. My daughter got better, and we went to Bath University, and we met a coach there, and I helped him, and I ended up with another group of athletes at Bath University. And it was when Polly was 8 years old, so she's 20 now, so 12 years ago, I met Polly. And I was doing a taster session for the local community schools, and this young lady was hurdling, and already as an 8-year-old she could manage 3 strides between the hurdles, and she had good rhythm, good patterns, and we hit it on quite well. And I said, Polly, I think, why don't you come to the local club? And our local club was just purely recreational athletics. We weren't a serious club. It was all for fun. And she came along, and it all started there. Paralympic sports and the Paralympic athletics is very broad. The very various categories there. Yeah. Would you like to just share a bit of some of the categories and the categories that you work with, in particular? Okay. Right. Well, Polly has half an arm missing, and it's an above elbow, so that makes her a T47 category. No, a T46. Sorry. If it was a below elbow deformity, then that would be a T47. So I've worked with Polly, and she was the first person I came across that had any disability or anything different about them, or that challenged her athletic ability. Since coaching Polly, I've coached other people. I've coached people with learning difficulties. I've coached people with sight difficulties, and I've coached several CP athletes. So they're all different kinds of categories, and like you say, it really is a minefield to understand them all. There's different levels of ability in the CP athletes. There are different levels of sight ability in those with sight loss. There are those that have to wear a blindfold completely. There are those that are allowed to use some of their sight. Yeah, we could talk all night about that, you know. But suffice to say that Polly is a T46, which is an above elbow, ambulant, athlete.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, thanks for that, Colin. Let me see if I can pull one of the images, and thanks to Polly herself also for allowing us to, to do
this was Polly's first competition in a para environment ever. So, literally, when she was 12 years old, maybe just before she 12, she might have even been 11. I took her from the recreational club and took her up to the university to a more serious environment for training. And her first session there was with me, and I tried to get another top Paralympic coach to have a look at her. And he said, well, you're doing fine. You don't need any help from me. Just carry on. And he didn't really help me much. But unbeknown to me, that was probably the best thing he could have done, because it made me discover how to coach Polly and how to coach people that are challenged in that way. He then introduced me and Polly to a guy that had come up that evening. He was the talent development officer for the south of England. And that particular night, he said to Polly and Polly's mum, can Polly come to Exeter tomorrow? And we said, well, okay, yes. And so Polly took the day off school, went to Exeter, and competed in the Parallel Success Championships at Exeter, and promptly won everything she did. And that was a picture of Polly running there.
Yeah. Good shot. And then just on that, had you yourself at that point had any coaching experience or coaching training to work with disability or athletes with a disability? What decisions what did you have to consider before taking on the challenge of coaching Polly?
Well, no, really, I'd never had any training with coaching disability, and even to this day I haven't. We just worked along. We looked at how she ran, the mechanics of how she ran. When one of the first things I noted that her shoulders would rock quite a lot from side to side because of the imbalance, and she was trying to counteract that. So I thought, okay, let's make her strong through here. Let's give her the chance and just coach her movement skills, and gave her some tools in the toolbox to work with, and she gradually got better. I'd only at that time was a level 2 UKA coach. And it was just about then that I'd been given an opportunity to do a UKCC level 3 speed performance coach course.
Okay.
Which was fantastic. It taught me loads. I met loads of coaches that had lots of wonderful ideas, and we shared and interacted. And I think I would probably have to say I was the first UKCC level 3 speed performance coach qualified in the country.
No, well done about that. And if I may just take you slightly back there, which is the observation that you did make there, which is in most cases pretty obvious, that would be the struggles that an athlete with a disability of that nature, they would have to overcome, a certain mechanical challenges in their movement. And Polly was no different. And you say you focused on working on her core.
Yes.
Try to strengthen that, to strengthen the core so that it may minimize all the rotational forces in her upper body. what else? Whilst you were doing all this, what was her response, to all these interventions that you were bringing to her?
Well, Polly was very young, so Polly was easily to mould, and she didn't challenge what I said necessarily so much. It's not like coaching an adult athlete that will ask you many questions. Polly said, "Okay, I'll do that, coach, and I'll work on that." And she accepted what I did. Of course, now she challenges everything I ask her to do and questions it, and I have to justify why we're doing it, because But at the time, she was quite malleable, and I could mould her in the way I wanted. I always had in my mind, and I'm sure you'll probably agree with me, there's, posture is key, knee lift is key, ground contact is key, recovery is key, arm action is key. All of these things are key, and they're all connected in one big circle, and one affects the other. And I always had that technical model in my head that I could see, and I would try and improve, and we would work from one thing, and that would improve, and but that's thrown this thing out, and we need to go and work on that. And it just kept going round in a circle, and we just kept getting it better and better, making it more fit that technical model that I had in my head. And it wasn't any different from an able-bodied athlete, because it isn't really any different. With Polly, it's just an arm. It's not like she has a below the knee amputee and has to run with a blade or any of those things. It was just here that we had to challenge and sort those things out. If I fast forward a little bit, Stan, we went in 2014 was when Polly got to compete in the World Junior Championships. And we were only talking the other day, Polly and I spoke to her about this. And I remember seeing a German athlete, double below knee amputee, double blade runner, and the things he was doing in his warm-up, you wouldn't believe. It was like a ballet. It was like a dance. This guy was totally at home on his blades. He could do all kinds of things, different turns, and his agility in the blades and how comfortable he was in using them was key to his putting out a fantastic performance. He stood out from all of the other athletes because he was completely comfortable in his whole self. Yeah, so if the athlete is comfortable as they are, they're going to perform really well. So like with Polly, I had to make her actually be balanced and be able to run with effortless energy to counterbalance the arm.
Yeah. You fast forwarded it to 2014. I like to fast forward for people who are listening and watching this to 2016 Rio Paralympic Games.
Okay.
What happened there?
Okay. Oh well. I can remember when Polly phoned me up, and I was coaching at the time, to tell me that she'd been selected. We weren't sure she was going to go. It wasn't on automatic. She had the qualifying standards, all of those things, but that's still never a guarantee that you're going to go.
Yeah,
you have to go and be able to make finals and possibly make medals. And if you're not necessarily a guaranteed medal, you still may not go. So I was coaching at the track, and Polly rang me up, told me I'm going. I've been selected. So I'm leaping up and down in the middle of the track, and all my athletes are seeing this, and they all know I'm expecting a phone call. And then Polly says, "You can't tell anybody. It's a secret. You can't tell anybody for 48 hours."
Yeah.
So they all say to me, "Where are you going, coach?" I said, "I can't tell you." No. It wasn't. It was someone else rang me up. They said, "Don't lie to us. We know Polly's going." And I said, "Okay, you can't say anything." I was really lucky to be able to go because there are only so many coaches can go on the team, and I wasn't one of those. And Polly's parents paid for me to go. They put me in a hotel, and they got tickets and everything. And all I had to do was just step out of the hotel and meet the car, and I would be there. And I could watch her, and it was a fantastic experience. I had a great time, Stan. I actually got to go to the opening ceremony, which is quite a story. I couldn't get a ticket, so I went down, and I thought, well, I'll go as close to the stadium as I can. I can see all the fireworks and see if I can get in. Maybe I can get a ticket off of somebody or buy one from a ticket tent. And they wouldn't let me anywhere near security. That's it. You can't get in. So I spoke to this lady, and I said, well, I was trying to get a ticket. I said, you don't know anybody selling a ticket? And she said, she said, you need to see the road sweeper. I thought, oh, great, So she pulled me over, and she took me to this road sweeper, and she told him my story, and he went like this and pulled out a ticket. And he gave me the ticket. And I said, oh, how much for the ticket? Thinking, Jesus, I can't really afford this. This is going to cost me a fortune. And she said, no, he's gifted it to you. He's given you the ticket. Wow. I got there, sat down in the seat. Great. This other family come and sat next to me, mum, dad, 2 children. And she says, have you got a ticket? I said, oh, yeah. She said, where did you get the ticket from? I thought, oh, no. I said, I got it from the road sweeper. And he gave the ticket to me. She said, did you pay him for it? I said, no, he gifted it to me. She went, oh, good. It was my son's ticket, and I gave it to the road sweeper to give to someone. And he wasn't allowed to sell it. So I got to sit in the stadium, watch the opening ceremony, with this lady teaching me how to do the samba. I had a wonderful time in Rio. Polly, however, she made the final for the 100 meters.
Yeah,
and 5th. To be honest, I think she kind of threw away a medal, because the Cuban athlete was like the athlete to beat. She was the world record holder, and Polly was right next to her and right on her shoulder, running really well. And I thought, oh, we're in here, we get a medal. And Cuban athlete pulled up a hamstring. Totally put Polly right off with that, and she came in 5th. But to be honest, I think bronze medal might have been on the cards there, but a bit more experience, because Polly was only 16 at this time. You imagine being 16 and going to the biggest show in the world and being in the final of the 100 meters. That was quite something.
Yeah.
And then she came 7th in the long jump final.
No, well done to both of you there for that journey there. But I'm gonna take you back. Let's leave Rio and Paralympics. For another time, because my invitation still stands there, so that we can possibly have Polly join us at some stage, and we can watch that final and the semi-final. I had a look at it. It was really a close race. It was a close race. She was in it. Now, tell me, what is the role of your own profession? How did it contribute to you, managing and coaching? Your technical background. How did that help with your assisting and guiding Polly over the years? You guys been together since she was 8 years old.
Yeah. Well, me being a toolmaker and being very methodical in engineering, and I always took the view, Stan, that if you had two athletes equally strong, equal size, everything equal, who's going to win? The one with the best technique or the one with the poor technique? It's always going to be the one with the best technique is going to win if everything else is equal. And so I'm very methodical with how I approach the coaching, very methodical how I approach putting her through certain drills to try and make things happen and try and improve her techniques. And then I made her a prosthetic an arm. Which I sent you some pictures of.
Let me just help you there. Let me see if I can pull that one up there for our viewers to see.
Yeah.
You know, total genius. Yeah, tell us about it. How did you go about, creating this artificial arm for, regarding the size, the dimensions, the specifications. What were your considerations?
It's quite a story because we Polly has a company that makes arms for her and helps with those things. So they made the upper arm out of like a thermoplastic, and they measured it up and made a mold and made the upper arm. But we still then had to figure out the bottom half.
Yeah.
And how heavy it should be. So what I did, I made some like small sandbags, and we taped them around the upper arm to find out what weight worked best. And I come to this. I think it was something like about 150 grams worked out best, and she could use that. And then so I made the bottom arm and the size of the aluminium joining piece, and then the bottom is like a fishing rod, carbon fiber fishing rod with a walking stick ferrule on the end. But we kind of worked to try and create 152 grams there that balanced her arm out and made her so she could then put herself in the starting position. Her shoulders were level. She was on an equal level playing field with the others in the game, instead of trying to balance on one arm, which was always quite difficult. And it improved her sprinting no end. She got quicker. Starts were better.
Yeah.
And we've now gone back a bit from that. She now has her arm, but it has a bend in it. So it kind of makes the sprint arm angle for it. So we have the right angle, but it's not 90. It's kind of about here. It's a different angle, so that when she sprints, she can recover it better.
Okay.
Yeah, we tried all kinds of things. We tried to make an arm that would articulate and move.
Yeah.
But all that did was rotate around on her arm. We couldn't fix it properly. We've got some other ideas. I want to make an arm that will be telescopic and come in and out as she sprints. As she throws it down, it becomes longer. When she brings it back in recovery, it becomes shorter. So it will do this. Yeah.
Yeah. What would be, from a biomechanics standpoint, what is your thinking regarding that? Getting the short lever in the recovery phase of the run and the long one, in the driving phase of the run.
Well, simple mathematics, Stan. I mean, a longer lever generates more force. A shorter lever travels faster. So if you have a shorter lever in recovery, it will recover quicker. And when you drive it down, you'll create more force. You'll stop the hip from twisting because you have a blocking effect, and you'll be able to recover that leg faster.
Yeah. Okay. So what would that do? What would that do to the opposite leg? Given the forces you are referring to in the right arm, as an example, what would be happening to counteract that or to synergize that on the left side of the body, lower trunk? Because if she can generate the force and recover that leg quicker, yeah. So when her right arm comes down,
Her right leg's coming through, isn't it? Have I got that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. She's more stable when she's in stance on the left leg, and she's able to put that foot to floor and produce force in a quicker moment of time because she's balanced. Because there's less torsion, she's better balanced. She can run easier in a straight line. If you see from that picture, you can see her left shoulder is way back. There's a lot of twist in that body.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. How old was she at this phase? And
she was 11, I think. There.
Yeah.
11 years old.
A lot of biomechanic work that you did there, Colin, and well done for both you and Paul. Because watching her as a senior, the smoothness in her run, just the efficiency and the effectiveness that she generates is impressive. Absolutely impressive.
It's a little bit at a time, a bite-sized bit, and then another bite-sized bit.
Yeah. Indeed. Yeah. Now, I know you said she's a very receptive athlete, and for you to be able to experiment with movement, the way you did to come up, continue to itinerate it to arrive at what is optimal for her own assistance. Talk to us about the role of mental fortitude and emotional strength, for an athlete like Polly. How much do those come into play?
Oh my God! I mean, Polly is special. Polly is special. I've not come across too many athletes. When we do a strength conditioning day, a circuit or anything, even now, if we do a workout, we do a core circuit, she makes me do it. Right? So when I do 10 sit-ups, she does 12. If I do 20 sit-ups, she does 24. If I do 30, she does 36. Oh, I mean, we're in the gym. She can lift in the gym. She doesn't need a special bar. She doesn't need a safety bar or anything. She just balances it. She does it. She's a tank. And she is very determined. I said to her once, I said, Polly, this was coming up to GCSE time. You have to be careful with your time. You can't get behind with your studies, because if you get behind with your studies, you will have to miss training. I said, because it's not going to be my fault that you don't get your grades. So if you don't do your grades or you don't do your studies, I won't let you come training. I said, okay. And I said, what you need to do is fill the dead space. So she filled the dead space. When we drove to training, obviously sprints started at 7 o'clock, but hurdles started at 6. So I had to be there for 6. So she would sit. You've probably been in Bath Training Village, where all the gym is, and you've got all the tables sat on the top. She would take all her school books, a big bag, and then go and sit at the table for an hour and do a schoolwork, and then come down and do a sprint session. She would spend her time in the library whenever there was free lessons or at lunchtime. She would get all her work done so she could always do training. And I didn't have to police that. She just did that. I said, when you get home from school, Polly, and you're sat on the sofa waiting while Mum and Dad cook tea, what do you do? Or do you sit on the sofa? She said, oh, yeah. I said, I don't want you to sit on the sofa anymore. So I want you to sit on the floor. Do your stretches. You can still watch Tracy Beaker on the television. It's just the right height while you're doing your stretches. Yeah. So for Polly at an early age, she always had it She wanted to be successful. She wanted to prove to everybody else, oh, I can beat you. You might think you can beat me, but I can beat you too. Yeah. And so she wanted to do that. She would turn up to a competition with the scruffiest leggings and the you know, she had a GB kit in the cupboard, but she'd wear any old rubbishy stuff because she didn't want to stand out. And then she wanted to just cross the line first and beat these people and stand there and go,
Yeah.
very competitive person, and very kind of regimented or OCD as it is. Like, I mean, you know, that's basically that. She has that real strong mental fortitude. It's almost unbreakable.
Yeah. I find that very interesting there, you know, what you just shared about her not wanting to, you know, to stand out, you know, amongst her training peers in training by wearing, you know, her international colors, you know, which is it's not such the case with most athletes. They would rather almost find the slightest excuse
parade it round, don't they?
Yeah. You know, this visibility, and you know, whether it's pride or it's ego or whatever it is. What is the case with Polly? Why would she not want to stand out? Or basically, why would she not want to?
I don't know. It's just her nature.
At what level of an athlete that she is, you know, she's performing and training at?
Yeah, it's just her nature. She with the local club, she's still that club member of that club. She still wears, if she competes in a normal match, she still wears that local club vest. She'll never leave that club. And when she comes home, if we have a prize giving or she will come and present the prizes, and it's only then you'll see her in GB kit, and you'll never see her in GB kit any other time unless she's competing when she's there. But if you think about it this way, if you wear your GB kit all the time, how are you going to feel special when you compete?
Yeah.
You need to have, when you put on that kit, you know, to be able to put on that persona of, right, I'm ready. This is my work uniform. This is what I turn up. I'm going to go and do the business. So that's the only time when I personally believe you should wear it. But I didn't tell her this. This is just how she is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, before I have asked you a few questions regarding working with Polly as a teenager, you know, the transition from, you know, as a teenager into a senior, you know. Sorry, I got distracted. Somebody's trying to open my door here, the little one. Anyway, so I want to talk about long jump, you know, because not only sprints, but she also jumps. Now that must present, you know, different challenges there for her, because the forces that she must generate there, you know, are a whole lot different, you know, relative to the takeoff, the flight, as it were, you know, the takeoff and the flight phases, you know, of long jump, which are not there in the sprints. How did you manage? How do you manage it? How did you develop it?
Well, when we first started, we let her jump. It was the very first competition was the county schools competition, and she was down to do the 100 meters. And she said, "I've got to be here all day, Colin. I'm going to be bored. Can I do another event? Can I do the long jump?" Okay, give it a go. We did it when she was little, when she was small, because we just rotated round and did long jump, throwing. We did everything in the early days. So she had a grounding in all the sport. So she went and she came second. She blew me away. She came second. She jumped about 470 as a first year under 15. which like I thought, wow, you know, and we were looking, well, that puts her like 10th in the world or something. It was quite, you know, quite a big jump. So we said, oh, did you like it? Do you want to do it? She said, yeah, I want to do it. So I say, okay. So we had 2 sprint sessions in the week. And every 2 weeks, every other week, we had a long jump session. And then she had a circuit session, you know, in that. So 3 week, 1 week she had 3 sessions, 1 week she had 4 sessions. But we kept them to very short times. It was only an hour and a half for each session. Oh, she was such a young lady. So
Yeah.
the following year, she jumped 520 and she won the county schools. And the rest is history, really. She really enjoyed it. The problems we had was her right foot or right ankle was always a little bit weak, not as strong as the left. And so we changed so that she was taken off of that foot. And I said, well, we need to change the takeoff. Although you're doing really well, let's change the takeoff so you're taking off with a firmer foot to get further. And that produced results. We got further, we got better. We then looked at the primary thing for me is always the approach. It's approach. If you can get the approach bang on every time, so it's something she doesn't have to think about, then you can then work on the other things. So we had to make the approach. The last three steps: sink, take off. So flat foot, take off, and elevate the foot, drive the free knee up, drive the arm up, get all those mechanical things that happen for her. And then we kind of do. It's a bit like a hang hip. She does a bit of a hang and then rotates. And we did all kinds of silly things. We had people with like Granny's elastic held up, so she'd have to jump over the elastic. One time I put two crash mats on top of each other. You know, the 6 foot crash mats, and she had to take off and go over and clear the crash mats. We did all kinds of silly things. We wanted to get high. We wanted to make sure the force come down into the board, that her foot was under her hip or her hips were almost in advance of her foot when she took off, so that she was already going up, instead of a foot on the board and her hips behind making a break. And so we put all of these things, and we don't always get them right, even to this day. We're still working on these things. But that's... You know, that's continuous improvement. As you know, you can never do enough for a good boss. I'm always asking for more.
Indeed, yeah. Well done, Colin. I'll give you just a small short break, a water break in the meantime. Well.
I'm coming.
All right.
I just a bit quick. Sorry about that. We're like the Chuckle Brothers here, aren't we?
Exactly. Anyway, Colin, listen. You know, we just about, got a few more minutes here, but I'd like you to tell me something about, Polly, your experiences with Polly as a teenager. Teenage athletes are a different kind of breed. What was the experience with her?
Oh, wonderful. I mean, Polly would jump in. We'd get in the car. There'd be Polly, there'd be Molly, there'd be Immy, and there would be Ken, and then there would be Ransford. And we'd fill the car up and we'd go travel to training. Well, Ken was 6'4" at 15, from Uganda. Absolutely a wonderful, wonderful lad. And he was going home for Christmas. And I said, "Oh, yeah, Ken's going to Uganda." You know, he said his dad's like, you know, head of the family. And they were all taking it all in. And I said, "He's going home, and his dad's going to find him some wives."
Yeah.
He said, yeah, 6 wives. Ransford's from Ghana. He said, yeah, that's what happened. He backed me up. He said, "I'm a prince too. Yeah, my dad's leader." And the 3 girls were like sat there going, yes. So the point I'm making, they believed hook, line, and sinker that Ken was going to go to Uganda and come back with 6 wives. And you know, and how gullible teenage girls can be, and how much fun you can have with them.
Yeah.
I teased them relentless. I was relentless with them. All kinds of like sexist or feminist jokes you could have with, like, I said, "Well, you know, Ken, what size feet have you got, Ken?" He said, "Well, I've got size 12. And I said, "Well, I'm size 10. And Ransford said, "Oh, I'm a 9. How many big feet you got?" And they were all like, you know, 7s and 8s. I said, "Why women got Ken?" And Ken piped it and said, "Why women got smaller feet, Colin?" I said, "So they can stand closer to the sink to do the washing up." And the girls were beating me on the back of the head, and oh, you know, the humour we had. We put the radio on, and there'd be the songs, and there'd be like 3 cats in the back singing, all screeching and squawking, just to. I never had any problems really with any of those girls. They were fun to be with. They were fun to. They teased me relentlessly. You know, they were forever pulling my leg, and we had great banter in the group. I didn't have any problems with them, you know, saying, "Oh, I don't want to do this," or "I don't want to do that." They just, because we made it, it was always a laugh. It was always fun. We were at the track. We had a speaker, and we had some music playing, and you know, they took it in turns who could play their music. Stand them in. Can you imagine doing a lifting session in the gym, and they put their music on it? It's all Disney tunes. You know, that's the only grumble I ever got, was I had to listen to Disney tunes all the time. Even now, she'll play Disney tunes just to wind me up.
To get to you. Colin, you've been superb, man. You've been superb, but I will not do justice with your wisdom and your experience if I don't ask you this question. What would you advise? What would you advise coaches and coaches out there, or aspiring or practicing coaches? What is your central view regarding disability sports, disability athletics versus able-bodied athletics, or so-called? What's your take on that?
I would never separate them if I could get away with it. I've always coached Polly and all my disability athletes all together. I've encouraged them to support each other. I can relate a story when I coached a lad called Jack Wiskin. He came to the group. He had learning difficulties, but he was blind in one eye and only see out the side of another. And I said, "Right, lads," I got 2 lads with white T-shirts. I said, "I want you to run." We were doing 150s, Stan. So I said, "Right, you're there. Jack's in the middle." I said, "We'll run the bend. And then when you get to the straight," I said, "Jack's going to take off and you'll be left in his wake." And they looked at each other and said, "Oh, no, that ain't going to happen." I said, "Well, you know," I said, "he's pretty quick, this Jack." So off they went. They took off. It was 90% what I was asking for. When he got to the edge of the bend, and Jack went, whoop, and he left them standing, and they were going like the clappers, these lads. At the end of the session, I said, "Well, look, you know, did you enjoy that, Jack?" And Jack said, "Great, okay." I said, "We'll see you again." I said to the lads, "You know, is it okay if Jack comes? Is it all right?" And they said, "Oh, we want Jack again. We want Jack back. He's brilliant. He's wonderful." So I said, "Okay, he's going to come next Thursday." Next Thursday, I turned up, and they're all there, and they all sort of got their tracksuit tops on, and they're smiling and giggling at each other. I know something's up. So I said, "Okay, let's get the warm up done." We done the warm up. We go out to the track, and these two lads stripped their top off. Day glow orange tops, high vis tops for Jack. I mean, when you got a group of people that work like that, and when you got a group of people that support anybody else that is different or slightly different, and look after each other, and what more could you want?
Yeah.
And I think disability athletes benefit from being with able-bodied, and able-bodied benefit from having disability athletes there. And if you can, I think, just run them alongside the others, work together, and the able-bodied athletes will make allowances.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. Well, on that note, Colin, what's left for me is to thank you for the night and for sharing all the experiences with Polly and your journey. You've been together for a long time, and it's pleasing and a wonderful thing to see that coach-athlete relationship. You know, the way that you and Polly have developed over the years, and that is still coaching her, to this day.
Yeah.
And like I said, I would like to give you another invite, not in the too distant future, hopefully bring Polly as well, so that we can look at her, senior career. We've heard all about her junior career today, but look at her senior career with all these major championships. So from me, Colin, I'll say it is good night and bye-bye.
Good night, Stan. Thank you. Thanks for listening. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.